My name is Enkhbaatar. I'm a professor at Mongolia International University. Many of you will be graduating this summer, and the next step in your education or in your life will be pursue a master's degree or go into the working force. I graduated in 2014, and when I graduated, I decided to pursue my master's degree at Southeastern Louisiana University. And the process of me coming to that decision and the experience I had, I want to share that with you today. So a little comparison between MIU and SLU. In MIU is a very small college, a university. We have 500 undergraduate students compared to Southeastern, where we had almost 1,300 students. We have 10 degree programs in MIU, but we had 49 in Southeastern. And also the buildings. We only have so many few buildings, I think 7 or 8 in MIU, compared to almost 150 buildings where you can get really, really lost. And I remember my first experience was I saw a room number and I saw the floor, and I went to the wrong building and I was late to my class, 30 minutes. And those are the small experiences that I want to share with you today. First, I want to talk about lifestyle changes that I had to make once I started my master's degree. And the thing was, when I was doing my bachelor's, there was always home meals, there was family and friends always close by, and everything just seemed so close and in reach of me. But when I started my master's, I was eating fast food all the time. I stopped cooking because my parents were not there forcing me to eat healthy. I remember there was a lot of lonely nights, there was a lot of homesickness, and there is a little bit of a mental aspect to that. And people oftentimes go into depression. The first few months is okay, but towards the end, you really do get homesick, and that's one of the things that you need to be prepared for before you go abroad. And everything is far. I remember even shopping, food, restaurants. So you definitely need a car if you decide to go to, if you're not living on campus. All right. But one thing that does not change in MIU or in any other school is people. So just because you go to a different school, people do not change. You can still make friends and you can still have enjoyable experiences with them. And I found that out when I joined intramural basketball team with some of my friends and some of my classmates. And I did that in my bachelor's in MIU. And I also did that when I went to my master's. And that was my way of finding people with the same interests to get me through those tough times. So, also, when you go there, you have to really balance work and study. So I remember I used to play a lot. I would play video games, but at the same time, I took the time to study, and balancing those out. Initially, it's very difficult, but if you remember your goal and why you are there, it does become a little bit easier. But remember, you can't be just study, study, study. There also needs to be a time for relaxation also. So time management. And the biggest ally that you will have during your bachelor's and also during your master's is definitely people who will support you. Your professors, the faculty. Those are the people, they're never going to change. A goal of a teacher is always going to be there to help you. So, and I experienced that in MIU, but I also experienced that in SLU also. So remember, always seek help from your professors and always be open and courteous to them because they're there to help you. And if you do all these things, you will graduate. You will graduate this summer, but you will also have your master's, and hopefully you will have a successful career in life. Okay, so you have decided to pursue your degree in master's. So, and one of the most difficult things that you will face with not just the lifestyle, it's always going to be about the financial, okay? Many of us, we are not rich people, and I definitely wasn't rich people. I have a humble beginning, and definitely my parents could not pay for my tuition if I decided that I wanted to go to a school where they wouldn't provide me, where I couldn't find my own money. So, compared to MIU, abroad schools are always going to cost a little bit more in most cases. So I remember I became a super senior. It took me 5 years to get my bachelor's degree because I was pursuing a career in sports my first year, and I didn't take enough credits and I never made it up. So it took me 5 years, 10 semesters, but every semester I was paying around $250. So 10 semesters, I only paid $2,500 for my bachelor's diploma, which is very, very cheap compared to how much I had to pay for my master's diploma, which I only studied for 5 semesters, half of all of my bachelor's degree. But each semester, the tuition fee was $8,000. So it was $40,000 for 5 semesters, and you add living expense, and you add food and housing, and total for 5 semesters, it came roughly around $60,000 for my master's diploma, right? So, like I said, my family is not rich, and I don't have money, and I didn't make great investments. I didn't find gold. So where did I find $60,000 for my master's degree, which equals to roughly around 150 million Turk, right? So I think everybody knows the answer to this, and that's obviously a scholarship, right? But how do you get the scholarship? How do you apply for it? How do you find it? And I'm going to share my experience with you on how I paid for my tuition through a scholarship and how I applied. Okay, so whenever we think about scholarship, you have to understand what a scholarship means. The first thing, really cool thing about scholarship is once you get a scholarship, you definitely don't need to pay it back. That is your money for your education. There's no consequences. You might lose your scholarship, but you're not going to pay that money back. So that's really good. Criteria is very strict, and a lot of people are applying for it. So there's a lot of competition. Okay, so only few people receive it compared to how many people apply. It's very competitive, and it's very tough to get. So don't just rely on scholarship. That's the bottom line. Now there are different options, but let me just give you the criteria for scholarships. Okay, so you need to take the IBT TOEFL. The maximum score is 120. So out of that 120, you want to do your master's degree, you at least need 80 or above in order to apply for a program. And you need over 100 to, have a chance of getting a scholarship. Over 100. So 80 to get accepted to your program, and then over 100. Obviously, your GPA also plays an important role. Whenever you want to go to a master's program, they're always going to ask your GPA. And any self-respecting college is going to say you need at least 3.0 or above in order to continue your education. And if the university does not ask your GPA and just accept you, in most certain cases, that's a scam. So don't apply to that university. Okay. The next is GMAT or GRE. And most big colleges require you to have a GMAT or a GRE. Also the same thing here. If a college does not ask for a GMAT or a GRE score, oftentimes it's not going to be a very good university, and the diploma that you receive from that university is not really going to help you in the working force. It's just not going to be a good school. So GMAT and GRE, they can be a little bit tough. So obviously the high score is 800 and 170 respectively. So you need at least 550 on GMAT, and then over 155 for GRE in order to get accepted into the master's program. And for a scholarship, you need over 600 on GMAT and over 160 for a scholarship for GRE. So it's very tough. The criteria is very high. But so if that's not really your forte, does not mean you have to give up. There are a lot of other options. And one of the options is it's called a fellowship. So fellowship does need to be paid back to whoever gave it to you by working, okay, in your own field. So there are consequences to most programs. So if you have a fellowship, and sometimes if they do a contract with you, and if you mess up or you do something that is against the contract, they'll take away your fellowship. But you also might need to pay back the money that they gave you. So there are consequences. Now, most fellowship programs are very specialized. So I think might be where it's tough. So you really have to know specifically in what field you want to go and exactly what you want to study. It's very specialized. And then there's the third option, which is the most viable option for most people. And this was my option. And this is how I paid for my university. It's called a graduate assistant or a lab assistant. It's paid by your university. So basically your university gives you a scholarship, but you have to work for that university 20 hours a week, and give it back, basically paid back. It is a little bit competitive. Not a lot of people apply, but good quality people apply. You need good reference. You need to have good interview skill. Also, you need a good CV. And if you have working experience, it's really, really good. It comes in handy. There are limited spots, obviously, but very few apply compared to scholarships. So if a scholarship, 100 people apply, maybe 10 people will apply for graduate lab assistant. Okay. So criteria for having a graduate assistantship or lab assistantship. Obviously, you need your GPA to be over 3.0. You definitely need working experience. So I always say during the summertime work, during the wintertime work, make sure you do a lot of internship, and that's always going to help you in your next step. And luckily I had that. I have always been working since I was probably 16 years old. So I had vast amount of work experience. So that really helped me out a lot. A well-written CV. And definitely the most important thing is interview. The people who are going to be hiring you, they do a personal interview, and if they like you, for the most part, they will hire you. So it's very important. And how do you find graduate assistantship and lab assistantship? Now, this is the thing. They don't announce it in these websites and everything. You really have to do your own research. So there's a process. People always say, okay, I want to find a scholarship and then I'm going to find a college. And it doesn't really work that way. And you shouldn't look at it that way. First, I want you to find a university. Okay, a university and the location that you want to go to. So you find a city first. You find the country, you find the city, you find the school. And once you get to the school, you talk to your department head, you choose a major. And from that major, you say, okay, do you need graduate assistantship? How can I pay? And usually at that point in time, when you get serious, your graduate assistant, graduate director usually gives you the option for these. So it's not going to be the first page of a university. You really have to dig deep and find it yourself. You have to write a lot of emails, but it's always there in every single university. You just have to do your own research. So in conclusion, what I want to say is that there's always a way for you to pursue something that you truly are passionate about. If you are really truly passionate about something and you really want to study again, choose a master's. But if you want to make a difference and you want to work, then go into the working force. There is no right or wrong decision in this. You really have to do what you are passionate about, because if you do something that you are being forced into doing, because your parents are saying you need to go abroad and you need to get a master's degree, that's not always correct. And even if you do a master's degree, you're not always going to be happy with it. So what I always suggest is, if you truly believe that you know that you want to pursue in that major, do it. But if you are still confused about whether or not you like your career, I say go into the working workforce, work for 1 or 2 years, and then see what it's like. And if you like it, yes, after 2 years, you can go back to school and pursue it. If not, then you can change your major and you can pursue something different. And that's always going to be it. The only person who makes the right decision is always going to be you, because you're the person who has to live with it. So do your own research. If you can always find me and ask me questions about the advice and everything. And just remember, work hard, but also have fun. All right. Good luck.